The script is a long collection of funny, emotional, and relationship-focused scenes from Friends. The main characters, Rachel, Ross, Monica, Chandler, Joey, and Phoebe, are dealing with changes in their careers, romantic relationships, money problems, family issues, and their uncertain futures. As usual, serious situations quickly turn into jokes and misunderstandings. The story begins with Rachel and Phoebe discussing the uncertainty of adult life. Rachel feels like she doesn't really have a clear plan for her future. The conversation becomes more emotional when Rachel talks about Ross and Emily's upcoming marriage. She insists that Ross and Emily move too quickly, and predicts that they will eventually realize their mistake and cancel the wedding. Rachel tries to sound confident, but it's clear that Ross's relationship still affects her emotionally. She even jokes that the group will probably be dancing at her wedding, before Ross and Emily's marriage actually happens. The friends then start talking about money and expensive plans. Rachel and Phoebe realize that Chandler and the others seem to assume everyone can afford the same restaurants, dinners, and activities. They feel uncomfortable complaining because these plans are usually connected to birthdays or special occasions. The problem becomes even more obvious when Monica gets exciting news about her career. She has been promoted to head of purchasing, and she wants to celebrate with everyone. However, Rachel and Phoebe immediately start worrying about how much the celebration will cost. Another storyline deals with dating and the confusing language people use when rejecting someone. A character returns from a date and says the other person suggested they should do it again. The friends explain that in dating language, "we should do this again" can sometimes mean the person has no intention of seeing you again. They jokingly translate several common phrases, such as, "it's not you" or "you're such a nice guy," into their supposed hidden meanings. This turns an ordinary dating disappointment into a funny conversation about how people avoid directly rejecting each other. The group later watches the movie Old Yeller. Phoebe has apparently never seen the ending and believes it is simply a happy story about a family and their beloved dog. The others know exactly what happens at the end and become increasingly uncomfortable as Phoebe gets closer to discovering the truth. When the sad ending approaches, they try desperately to stop her from watching it. Phoebe's innocent misunderstanding makes the scene especially funny. Meanwhile, Joey experiences a health problem after working out. He suddenly develops severe stomach pain and has difficulty standing. His friends suspect that he may have a hernia and tell him to see a doctor. Joey, however, tries to convince everyone that it isn't serious. He is more worried about his career and money than his health, which leads to several jokes about his refusal to take the problem seriously. Another important part of the story involves Rachel struggling financially after losing her job. She is worried about paying her rent and doesn't want to borrow money from her friends because she knows she would feel guilty if she couldn't pay them back quickly. Eventually, her parents offer to help her. The situation shows Rachel's struggle between wanting to be independent and accepting help when she needs it. At the same time, Rachel and the others spend time with baby Ben, which leads to conversations about marriage, children, and getting older. Someone jokingly suggests that if they are both still single at 40, they could get together and have a child. What starts as a joke quickly becomes an uncomfortable conversation about whether one of them might actually remain unmarried. The scene reveals some of their insecurities about the future. There is also a funny family storyline involving Monica and her parents. Monica discovers that her parents are turning her old bedroom into a gym while leaving Ross's room mostly untouched because it contains all of his trophies, awards, and accomplishments. Monica is clearly annoyed that her parents seem to have always treated Ross differently. Their family conversations reveal the complicated but humorous relationship between the siblings and their parents. One of the biggest comedic storylines involves Monica's secret closet. Chandler discovers that Monica has a locked closet and becomes extremely curious about what she is hiding. Monica refuses to let him look inside and insists that it is private. Chandler's imagination goes wild, and he starts thinking of increasingly ridiculous possibilities. Eventually, He discovers that the closet is simply filled with a huge amount of clutter. Monica is embarrassed because she normally presents herself as extremely organized. Chandler reassures her that he doesn't love her because she is perfectly organized. He accepts that she has a messy side and promises not to tell anyone. They even joke about dividing the closet between them so they can both store their belongings. The scene shows a more affectionate side of their relationship, while still keeping the comedy. Another emotional storyline focuses on Ross dealing with his parents' divorce. Ross becomes worried about what his family's future will look like now that his parents are separating. He imagines future holidays where his mother and father live separately and the family no longer feels the same. He then remembers childhood 4th of July celebrations when the whole family would gather on his father's boat to watch fireworks. Although his family argued constantly, everyone would eventually come together under one blanket when the fireworks started. The memory makes Ross realize how much he misses the way things used to be. The script also contains a hilarious leg waxing scene. Two characters decide to wax their legs and assume it will be easy. They quickly discover that the process is extremely painful. They compare their pain tolerance and argue about whether men or women experience pain differently. When the wax is finally pulled off, the dramatic screaming turns the scene into classic physical comedy. Meanwhile, Chandler starts working as an intern as part of a career change. He jokes about being older than the other interns and tries to convince them that he is just like them. His new position creates several jokes about starting over professionally and having to work from the bottom despite being an adult with years of experience. Phoebe and Rachel also decide to perform a Valentine's Day cleansing ritual to get over their previous relationships. They gather old gifts, letters, clothing, and other reminders of their exes and plan to burn them as part of the ritual. Phoebe suggests increasingly strange ingredients and rituals, while Rachel tries to follow along. The scene is deliberately ridiculous, but also represents their attempt to move forward emotionally. Toward the end, Chandler gets involved with one of Joey's sisters after drinking at a party. The problem is that Joey has several sisters, and Chandler cannot remember exactly which one he was with. This creates complete chaos because the friends start naming different sisters and trying to figure out what happened. Chandler eventually realizes that he may have told one of them that he could develop serious feelings for her. Joey becomes extremely angry when he learns about the situation. Chandler tries to explain himself, but the whole situation becomes even more awkward because he can't even correctly identify Joey's sister. The storyline highlights the complicated friendship between Chandler and Joey, where even potentially serious conflicts often turn into ridiculous misunderstandings. Overall, the script combines romance, friendship, family drama, career struggles, financial problems, and everyday adult worries with the sarcastic and exaggerated comedy typical of Friends. Rachel is struggling with her feelings about Ross and her financial independence. Ross is dealing with changes in his family. Monica is balancing career and relationship issues. Chandler is navigating marriage and personal insecurities. Joey is dealing with dating and career problems. And Phoebe continues to approach life in her own unusual way. The characters support each other through their problems, but their attempts to help usually create even more confusion and comedy.